Can you believe that your own son was capable of this?
No.
In your own home. You're on the 3rd floor, 2 floors below you. This is happening. A torture chamber in that basement.
No.
At the hands of your son. When I look, Ms. Castile, when I look at your son in this photo, I see a monster. What do you see when you look at this photo?
I just see somebody that don't resemble my son at all. And he don't. I don't know. I look at that picture and I really don't know who that person is.
This is the house on West Washington Street where the abuse happened. A big house with a very big family. Terry Sturgis and his 3 sons lived in the basement. Terry's mom, Delia Castile, lived on the 3rd floor with 4 of her daughters, kids of whom she had custody. Delia described the house as divided.
They mainly just were told to stay in the basement. That's where they would live in, that's where they paid partial rent for, and that's what they did.
She says she took care of her kids and Terry took care of his.
They were okay. It seemed like they were all right. They seemed like they were happy.
At trial, the jury was told of a close family dynamic with a grandma who made school lunches and played with the kids.
Castile also made sure that the boys had everything that they needed for school, that you did that on a daily basis.
No.
You didn't have a hand in it that much, no?
No. And as far as the games, that's if Terry, or when Terry permitted them to come upstairs.
Court documents, however, painted a darker picture, a picture of torture. Terry Sturgis's kids were beaten for years, marked with scars, scars that will last forever.
A lot of that is mixed up and misconstrued.
Well, and that's why I want to go through it. We're going to go line by line.
And that's what we did, starting with the first time Child Services knocked on the door in February 2010.
He was being accused of abusing the boys. I said, the boys? I said, Terry, what you doing?
Trammell, just 9 years old, cried out for help for the first time, telling a school teacher that his dad had hit him.
He said, "Ma, ain't nobody did nothing. Ma, these my kids. Worry about the ones you got upstairs, Ma." I couldn't help but accept that those are his children. They were under his care, not mine.
The other kids in the home told the social worker that Trammell was lying. The secret of abuse Trammell suffered would go with him to his grave. Grandma did nothing.
And I'm just a grandmother. Nothing I said would have mattered.
A year later, Delia had a second chance to do the right thing when a DCS worker knocked again. Again, Delia told the caseworker that none of the kids were abused, that she would not allow that to happen in her home. But it was happening. A jury said Delia knew. The burns, scars, and bone fractures proved the abuse had been going on for at least 2 years, and it continued in September 2011. Police say Sturgis got angry at 13-year-old Terry Jr. for taking his brother's snacks, so he beat Jr. in the head with a leg off of a table.
And I asked him, "Well, where's your dad? Tell him you need to go to the hospital."
According to Delia, Jr. made up a story about getting hit by a TV that fell off of a milk crate, an injury that required 12 stitches.
He could have told me that out of his own mouth, that something's going on in that basement. But that's not what he said. He lied.
The dark secrets kept inside this basement came to light on November 4th, 2011. Junior got into some trouble at school, and that's when the trouble started again at home.
Terry wrapped his arms with duct tape. Junior was able to escape, rip the tape off from his arms. However, Sturgis hit him with a stick and busted his head open. Sturgis then sat on him and started to choke him. Did you see any of this happen?
No, it didn't happen upstairs.
All the while, the boys were being tortured just 2 floors below her.
Junior had a bad day at school. We've got Terry with duct tape, a stick, armed with a hot iron, and in the basement, according to these documents, for several hours, this abuse took place on the day that little Trammell died. You heard nothing.
I heard nothing.
Nothing, as Sturgis burned all 3 boys with a hot iron.
A hot iron being burned to a child. You never heard a child scream.
I never heard a scream at all, not one time.
Sturgis sat on, choked, and threw little Trammell against the staircase. Delia only waking to Terry's screams.
Sturgis then yelled out for Castile, but she responded that she did not want to see Trammell, quote, like this.
No.
Court documents show Trammell stopped breathing and Sturgis started CPR. But Grandma from the 3rd floor tells a much different story, saying she thought Trammell only suffered a burn. An autopsy would later show that a blow to the head led to brain swelling, which caused Trammell to die.
The question that everybody has back in South Bend is, how does Grandma live in this house and not see this level of torture?
Because Terry's children were not permitted to be upstairs like the children I had.
That doesn't raise a red flag to you living in that house, that you're not even around the kids or allowed to be?
They got parents. I'm not going to try to override their parents. I'm the grandmother.
Trammell was just 10 years old.
And then I have these photos.
Oh, wait.
Of Trammell. What do you see when you see these photos?
I'm so sorry. I didn't know. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't know it. Oh my God. That's my grandson.